Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. I know exams are just around the corner, and sometimes this chapter can feel a little heavy, but don't you worry one bit. We're going to break it all down into a super simple and exciting political comeback story. Seriously, it's full of drama and twists that are actually pretty easy to remember. So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with that big question mark after Nehru, then we'll feel the tremors of the 1967 political earthquake. After that, the real drama, Indira versus the Syndicate, which led to the Great Congress split. And finally, the epic comeback with Garibi Hatao. Just stick with me for a few minutes and I promise this whole chapter will be crystal clear for your exams. Ready? Let's do this. All right, so our story kicks off at a very sad and uncertain time for India. The country's first prime minister, our beloved Jawaharlal Nehru, has just passed away. The whole nation was standing at a crossroads, wondering what would happen next.
Yeah, this picture really captures the mood, doesn't it? A nation holding its breath. Everyone, and I mean everyone, was asking two huge questions. The first one was pretty straightforward. After Nehru, who? But the second question, Bachcho, that was the one that had everyone worried. After Nehru, what? So many people, especially in other countries, were predicting that Indian democracy just wouldn't survive without him. There was a real fear that maybe the army would take over. It was a super tense time.
And you know, this period was often called the dangerous decade for a reason. After Nehruji, Lal Bahadur Shastriji became prime minister. But so tragically, just 2 years later, he passed away too. Then, after a bit of a contest, Indira Gandhi became our third prime minister, all in less than 3 years. But here's the most important point, the one you must remember. Despite all this, India's democracy proved all the critics wrong. The change in leadership was peaceful every single time.
Okay, let's move on to the next part of our story, which is the fourth general elections in 1967. Now, this wasn't just any other election, oh no. This year was a landmark moment that sent a massive shockwave through Indian politics. It was nothing less than a political earthquake that shook the Congress Party's dominance to its very core.
So, why an earthquake? Well, the country was facing what you could call a perfect storm of problems. There was a really bad economic crisis, we had food shortages because the monsoons failed, and the government had to devalue the rupee, which made everything more expensive. Naturally, people were angry. There were protests and buns happening all over the place. And on top of all this, you have Indira Gandhi, a new and in many people's eyes, inexperienced prime minister. All the opposition parties saw this as their golden opportunity and ganged up under one simple strategy: non-Congressism. And the result? It was a massive shock. Just look at this map, Bachcho. It tells you the whole story. All those red areas are states where the Congress Party lost power, 9 of them. It was such a huge deal that a famous saying came up, that you could board a train in Delhi, travel all the way to Kolkata, and not cross a single state ruled by the Congress Party. Can you imagine? That's how big this political earthquake really was. Okay, time for a quick exam question. This is a very, very common one, so pay close attention. After these 1967 elections, a lot of MLAs started jumping from one party to another for power or maybe some money. What was the famous Hindi phrase that was invented to describe this kind of party hopping? Come on, think about it. And the answer is Gaya Ram, Gaya Ram. This whole phrase started because of a Haryana MLA named Gaya Lal. Get this, he changed his party 3 times in just 2 weeks. It's like your friend in gully cricket. First he's on your team, 5 minutes later he's on the other team, and then before the over's finished, he's back on your team again. That's exactly what Gaya Ram came to mean in our politics. Now, you'd think Indira Gandhi's biggest headache would be the opposition parties, right? Wrong. The real epic battle, the one that's like a blockbuster movie, was actually happening inside her own Congress Party. This is where the story gets really juicy. Her biggest challenge came from a group of very powerful, very senior Congress leaders. They were informally called the Syndicate. Now, these were the kingmakers, the big bosses who had actually put her in the prime minister's chair. You can think of them as those super senior, we-know-best uncles in a big family who expected the younger people to just follow their orders. They thought that since Indira Gandhi was young, she would just be their puppet. But see, Indira Gandhi was not going to be anyone's puppet. The big showdown, the final face-off, happened during the presidential election of 1969. The Syndicate picked their guy, N. Sanjeeva Reddy, as the official party candidate. But what did Indira Gandhi do? In an incredibly bold move, she backed an independent candidate, V. Giri, against her own party's choice. It was a huge gamble. So what happened? Well, this awesome R.K. Laxman cartoon says it all. You can see V.V. Giri, the boxer, winning the match. And who's that in his corner, acting as his coach? None other than Indira Gandhi. Her candidate won. She had taken on the all-powerful Syndicate head-on and beaten them at their own game. This was a massive, massive turning point. Now, after a big, open fight like that, after the Prime Minister defeated her own party's official candidate, there could really only be one outcome. The Grand Old Party of India, the Indian National Congress, officially broke into two pieces.
So this split created two different Congress parties. You know, it's kind of like when there's a huge fight in the family WhatsApp group and one person gets so mad that they leave and start a new group called the Real Family, something like that. The Syndicate's party was called Congress O for organization. We call it the Old Congress. And Indira Gandhi's new party was called Congress R for requisitionists, known as the New Congress. This cartoon here tells the story just perfectly. You see, the original election symbol of the Congress Party was a pair of bullocks, symbolizing farmers and strength and unity. But by 1969, as the cartoon shows, the two bullocks were fighting each other, pulling in totally opposite directions. This internal fight is what finally tore the party apart.
And that brings us to the climax of our amazing comeback story, the 1971 elections. Now remember, Indira Gandhi's government was actually in a minority after the split. She had to prove to the entire country that her new Congress was the real Congress. The stage was set for an epic showdown.
So what did the opposition do? All of them, including the old Congress, the Syndicate, they all came together and formed a grand alliance. And they had just one simple slogan. What was it? Indira Hatao, which means remove Indira. Their whole campaign was just about getting rid of one person.
But Indira Gandhi, wow, she came up with something brilliant. In response to their Indira Hatao, she gave the nation a powerful, positive, and really simple slogan that connected straight to the hearts of the people. She said, "They say Indira Hatao, I say Garibi Hatao, remove poverty." This one slogan gives so much hope to the poor, to Dalits, to minorities, and to women all across India. And the results? Oh my goodness, they were absolutely mind-blowing. Just look at the numbers here. Indira Gandhi's Congress R and its allies won a massive 375 seats. And the so-called Grand Alliance of all the opposition parties, they got less than 60 seats combined. And the Syndicate's old Congress wiped out with just 16 seats. It was an unbelievable victory. The comeback was complete. So, Indira Gandhi won this historic victory. But this brings us to a really important question, Bachcho. A question you really need to think about for your exam answers. Did she simply restore the old Congress system? Was everything just back to the way it was before? Well, the answer is a big, fat no. Even though her party was dominant again, its very nature had changed completely. This new Congress was not the old umbrella party that had space for all sorts of leaders and ideas. No, this new party depended almost entirely on the massive popularity of one supreme leader, Indira Gandhi herself. Its internal organization was weaker, and it relied heavily on the votes of specific groups, like the poor and minorities. So here is the main point, and this is a fantastic line to use in your answers, so listen closely. Indira Gandhi restored the dominance of the Congress system, but she did it by fundamentally changing the nature of the Congress system itself. It was both a restoration and a complete reinvention.
And with that, Bachcho, we've reached the end of this incredible political story. I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. How does relying so heavily on a single powerful leader affect a political party and maybe even a country's democracy in the long run? Think about it. I really hope this explainer made the chapter easy for you. All the very best for your exams. You are all going to do wonderfully.